Every nuance, every tiny bit of the performance that you see on the screen was created by the actors. They had to run, they had to leap, they had to fight, they had to do all the things that you see them doing.
And what we get is their performance coming through the CGI character.
Avatar has easily become the most recognized film in every country, even if you haven't seen it yet. With it holding the record for highest grossing film with borderline $3 billion in the box office, it's no wonder how high the expectations are for the next installment of this film, Avatar: The Way of Water.
The part that we had to create during the making of this film was the facial image-based performance capture technology that allowed what the actors did to 100% translate to what you see the characters doing.
It's really important to have the kind of director who can lead you and let you know what's happening, and then you can react to that.
But before we get into the sequel, we wanted to take a look behind the scenes of the original film.
So we came up with this idea that we would actually have a little boom, and on the end of that boom there'd be a little tiny camera, and it would image the face while the actor was working.
All right, gang, lights out. Come on, Louise, chop chop. Don't play with that, you'll go blind.
Freaky.
And if you look closely at these films, it's really interesting the imagination that went into filming something like this. As you can see, each one of these actors had to picture something that was not there in order for it to be realistic with the actors' facial expressions.
Get away! Get away from here! Never come back!
It's your fault. All your fault. Didn't have to die.
They attacked me. How am I the bad guy?
Your fault. You're like a child making noise, not knowing what to do.
But before we get into more of these moments, some trivia for you. Who created the new language for the film? Leave your guesses in the comments down below and stick around to the end of the video to find out if your answer was correct.
But they sent me here to learn your ways.
What are you saying, Jake? You knew this would happen?
Yes.
My savior. Yeah, my savior. You have a strong heart.
In looking at these scenes, they even used a real horse to manipulate the horses in the film. Having a horse on set that is trained to move how you request helped the actors and crew be able to move him and get the best shots possible, as well as being cooperative.
I've chosen. No woman has to choose me.
But real quick, make sure you guys check out our Instagram page linked down in the description. There's a ton of interview moments and memes, so make sure you check it out and give us a follow.
You need to build all of these physical cues for the actors and for Jim to work with so that the digital world starts to take on the character of the real world.
Stop! That's how you wrestle a banshee.
Even with as much time that has passed, Avatar remains the most watched film over all platforms and keeps it standing in its place at #1.
We will send them a message that they cannot take whatever they want, and that this is our land.
Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy was one of the most iconic sets of films of its time. When Cameron witnessed the technical wizardry of the technical team, especially the computer imaging of Gollum, the veteran director moved ahead to fulfill his dream project.
Just like you'd get in your car and drive out to a location and scout it with a viewfinder, I'd walk into the volume and I'd scout it with the virtual camera.
And Jim was able to rehearse in these virtual environments and made adjustments to the sets down in New Zealand without Jim ever going there.
With projects nowadays, their creativity has very few limits with how you can capture an image or a video and remorph them into something that looks so visually impeccable you almost believe it to be real because of the natural flow of it.
So what about this one? Run, don't run.
Run! Definitely run!
What about this one? Run, don't run, what?
Run! Definitely run!
We get a glimpse into more of how this film came to life with a costume designer who was responsible for a lot of the details of the clothing that the actors had on.
I came into the production of Avatar, I guess about halfway through live action. So it was interesting to kind of jump into the middle of this very evolved, very long process.
And I think one of the biggest reasons why this film was as successful as it was because of how it was made. Not only the creativity, but the amount of work from each category. Some people may have believed the movie to be animation, but in fact a lot of it was done by the actors, having mocap suits on and having to have a creative mind reacting to certain things that they couldn't even see what exactly it was.
I think the thing that people need to keep very strongly in mind is that this is not an animated film. These actors did not just stand at a lectern and do a voice part, and then animators went off for the next 2 years and created the entire physicality of their performance.
They call it the power of performance, and what it is having the actor do all of this acting without being sat in a chair, putting on hours and hours of makeup, being able to save time.
Performance captures a technique where you try to capture the performance of an actor and translate it to a digital character.
Prior to them even moving out into the performance capture world, we put the actors inside this giant sphere covered with lights, and we could photograph them and study their facial features.
We also get to see the behind the scenes of how they add certain sounds into the mix of everything, and it's actually a pretty interesting process.
I get involved with the sound design very early on. When I'm doing picture cutting, I like to have a library of sound effects that I can throw right into the cut, as the picture and the sound need to evolve simultaneously.
We also wanted to give a shout out to our DC Thursday winner. If you guys didn't know, we ask a challenging DC related trivia question over on our community tab. If you answer it correct, you get a chance to have your answer featured here in one of our videos. When you think about it and rewatch this film, it really puts into perspective that the creatures you are seeing aren't just images created from a computer, but real actors acting alongside each other, just with a cover-up of the animation of the movements and the color of the face. So all of the clothing you see on each one of these actors was handmade, designed for this film.
I got a couple of really exciting hours in LA, flying a helicopter with Kevin, who actually taught James how to fly helicopters.
The first day of production began in 2007, and James Cameron waited until technology was up to par with his imagination. Having the script already completed 12 years earlier, it's good that he waited for technology to advance because of his expectations for the film to be the way he wanted it, instead of it being thrown together and not having the title it does today.
I can just have everybody's attention for a second. This is kind of a pinch me moment that we're actually getting to make this movie. It's a dream project. You know, this script, the first draft of it was written 12 years ago, and we didn't start on the film then because frankly the visual effects guys told me I was mad.
He goes into more detail in terms of what he wanted the audience to feel with the use of his version of 3D animation.
They had to run, they had to leap, they had to fight, they had to do all the things that you see them doing in the film. And that's where the power of the performance comes from.
It's not just we're capturing motion, we're trying to capture what's the intent of the actor.
Let's go! At one point, there were over 900 crew members working on this one project at its peak, which makes sense seeing all these moments and how many people there are on set.
He had people rolling reference cameras.
Each of them was assigned to a particular actor. There were some reference cameras that covered wider so that you could see their body motion, but Jim was primarily concerned with getting a good, clean reference of their face.
As far as the answer to our trivia question, the Na'vi language was created entirely by scratch by Dr. Paul R. Frommer. James Cameron hired him to construct a language that would be easy for actors to pronounce, but would not resemble any human language. Frommer created about 1,000 words, and we get to see a glimpse of how they practiced for this new language the actors had to use for the film.
He spent the first few months just figuring out what the order of verb, subject, object would be. And it actually winds up being, in Na'vi, they speak the same order as German.
So what do you guys think about all this, and what are your expectations for Avatar: The Way of Water? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe with notifications on for more videos just like this. That's it for today though. We'll see you all next time with a brand new video.